Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the conclusion. So it's been a long time since we have a chill session to not chit chat about what is currently happening in Ukraine, and because of the way how my content strategy have been set, I don't know where to slot in as well the timing, and also no too busy nowadays. So anyway, so there a few major things I think is really in my crosshair, something that I'm looking at is the Russian offensive beyond Kursk, because Kursk is largely a foregone conclusion in a way. Like it's just a matter of time. Russia slowly push out the Ukrainians. The However, the Ukrainians are still very determined to hold a position, and but we do have some complication in terms of the mapping, because I've put in Surya maps, and now I'm really not really trusting of the map that he has done. Um, like it doesn't feel correct. So the Surya maps have reported that the Ukrainians have been fully pushed out from the border in the Glushkovo sector, and it doesn't. It I'm not sure. The reason is because it's too arbitrary. If you look at terrain in this area here, how is the Russians are going to hold the control of the border? The sensible place for the Russians to hold defense is along this railway line. This is the only sensible place. You can't possibly ask the Russian soldiers to be holding up in these tree lines, and it wouldn't make sense. So as such, it's very unlikely that the Ukrainians are pushed out entirely. Whereas I would believe that the Ukrainians are holding up in some of these tree lines. That is possible because that's how the Ukrainians operate a lot of the times. So I'm not sure. There is some complication in terms of this, and which is why it's now in orange. And I will not be mapping any more new information from Studio Maps until I can fact check all these orange ones, whether it's real or not. It doesn't feel correct. Like for example, the situation in the western flank as well. If you look at the different the mapping, if you can see the water body, you can see that based on the Surya Maps mapping, um, this is water. This is water. So and then with this mapping from the Zeleny Clean, basically the Russian forces had encircled the Ukrainian forces within Tostilok. Uh, wouldn't this be a bit like massive in terms of the development, because Ukrainian forces totally encircled? But this doesn't seem to be the case. How do you hold position in this open ground? Like no, it's too arbitrary. That's a problem with the it's like it's a bit the same criticism I have with New Div, uh, where no Russian defense ministry just say something and then they just map it, without no clarification. It's just simply like, oh, Russia MOD say that, so it's true. Um, and even and you can see that there is still Ukrainian forces at Darino, which shows that the initial mapping by Ryba can also be wrong, because they previously mapped it in this way, saying that the Russians have reached Zeleny Clint, which is also not true. So we have all these mapping problems, which that's why I'm determined to not add too bullish mappers into the story, because that really complicates our understanding of what is currently happening. As far as I can tell, the Russians are still pretty much fighting at the outskirts of Novo Ivanovka and Zeleny. This is where the front line I think is, and over at Lyubimovka, there is it's questionable if the Russians even have captured Porovsky. Maybe they did, and it looks something like this. I don't think the Russians is at Darino. I don't think they have captured it. Neither do I think that they have captured Zeleny Clint. So, and the Ukrainians are still, holding position like this. This is where I think the front line is, and there is no dramatic encirclement that we are seeing, by all this mapping from Ryba or from Surya maps. I don't think this is the case. No, it's very dramatic, but I don't think that's the case. Ukrainian soldiers, infantry are running through the fields just off Darino. Just shows that the Ukrainians still definitely have some very strong positions around all this area here. So Yeah, no, this the problem, that I have to face daily, and which is why I have been sticking to my own primary sources for a long, long time, and I really didn't want to add more sources unnecessarily. No, but no, when I do, no shit happen like this. So uh, otherwise, the and similarly have this in this situation as well. Russian forces has been geolocated under fire as they try to land troops onto this tree line. But somehow Surya maps have mapped it like the Russians have captured the entire area around here, while the geolocation only shows action over here. Which is like, how 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 do I just accept it? No, as if it's real. So this is my answer to the people that have been commenting in my comments for months now. Like, why you don't put Surya maps? Like, yeah, this is why. It's no, I do not know where his sources coming from. He don't share with me, exactly where he have his sources. So yeah, so I will respect that, but no, I can't use his mapping. No, looking forward, if this cannot be corroborated, it cannot be corroborated, then it doesn't exist, then it didn't happen. So it is what it is. Otherwise, Russians, the largely in Kursk front, the Russians are fighting in generally the same areas. If you yeah, and I would definitely just take the Russian Defense Ministry's word for it, because they simply tell you exactly where they are attacking. They're attacking at Blakovo, Malaya Lognia, Novo Ivanovka, Lyubimovka, or Tosti Lok region, and at Novi Put. This is where the Russians are pushing. The Ukrainians are attacking Ruskaya Konopelka, Ivanovka, Novo Ivanovka, uh, Zeleny Klint, Zeleny Shite, and yeah, that's about it. This is sort of the is getting a bit more stalemate again. It doesn't. It's like the entire collapse that I thought would happen didn't happen again. It just paused again. The Russians like to do this. They like to push hard and suddenly they pause, push hard and then they pause. So no, it doesn't surprise me anymore. It just like you just think that it's gonna collapse, but it didn't. So, but this also signals to another problem. The Ukrainians are still trying to hold this position at the Kursk front, and it's strategically pretty pointless. It doesn't affect or any of the other front line. The Russians are pushing very hard in a few regions. They're pushing over in this Velika Novosibirsk region. They're pushing over in the Voleda, Konstantinivka region, at the Kurakovi direction, Pokrov. They are also pushing over in not so much, but a little bit over at Torex region, the New York front. They are pushing in uh, the Pischane region and Kupiansk region. And there's also some actions around this Makievka, Nevsky region along the Svetove front. And Siver's offensive seems to have stopped. There's no more Siver's offensive. So the Russians are pushing pretty much these few areas. Um, Otherwise, actions in Kharkiv front is negligible. I think there's nothing really very big happening over there, and there are some false positive over in the Zaporizhia front where the Russians seems to be pushing, but I feel like it's just diversionary in nature. And if we zoom in this area in the Pischane Kupiansk front, the Russians are pushing towards Kupiansk, coming from the Sinkivka region, of course, and from the Pischane region, they are pushing for the river across multiple sectors. They are also trying to straighten the front line around Brestove, Lozova, but so far it doesn't seem to have succeeded. So it didn't work out for them at this moment, or it could be they didn't want to push the Ukrainians, or otherwise the Ukrainians are defending really well. Uh, latest latest geolocation does shows that the Russians have entered into from another angle into Krylyakivka, I think. Yeah, into Krylyakivka. So they have entered from another angle. This is the other one. So this is definitely ongoing. This is one of the major battles that I will be looking at. Um, Otherwise, I think further Siver's front, no, there's really nothing much. No, a lot of false positive as well previously. There is some push coming in the Chasivia region, but I think I still hold on to my belief. It's a pointless place to attack. I don't think the Russians are going to conquer it. Because if you, let's say, I tell you why. Another reason why not just is difficult to conquer, but if you conquer Chasivia, Mykolaiv region, then you will be facing with another bigger, heavy defensive position over at Konstantinivka. So you take a very hard place, you're facing with yet another even harder place. Like, what's the point? At this moment, this is just not necessary. I think that to push for such a difficult position, you will prefer that the Ukrainians to be even more grinded out. So, and this is not the place to grind out the Ukrainians. I think it's other places where the Russians have an easier time moving. So the Russians are still pushing in the Torex region, but the speed of the advance seems like they are pretty happy with holding the current line. Like, they are not pushing really hard, and in fact this area here is a very huge suspect, because a huge chunk of this area here, this entire area here is mapped by Surya Maps, which I no longer gonna use, but we have already mapped it in, so I don't want to just go backwards on it for now. So we'll just wait for invalidations. And over in the Pokrov direction, the Russians are currently pushing. Particularly, they seems to in the latest report, it seems like the target, the primary target is now Minograd. Seems like the major target. The latest reports are just fighting at Promin, Minograd, Krasnaya, Krytia. So this is based on the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report, and the flanking movement is currently moving over at Mariupolka. But because this area here is full of water bodies, you see there's a lake here, and this area seems to be really hard. Like you can see the massive chain of defenses. So I think the Russians have not been successfully pushing out in this area just yet. I think it will still take a lot more time to shape the front line to do that. Otherwise, in the Khernik region, the Russians are pushing very hard in all these areas here. I think the aim is to cut off this and straighten the front line. That would make sense. But of course, the Russians seldom do sensible stuff. Sometimes, sometimes they do uncomprehendable things, because we are not on the ground. We do not know what the hell is happening. They may find themselves in a very good position to create a death trap, a kill box, where they feel like, since the Ukrainians are going to come, they're not going to push. That is also a possible thing. So, but we do not know. We just, by looking at the map, we can project some thoughts, but they may not necessarily be the case. And as usual, the Russians are still holding the line over at Konstantinivka, Katerinivka region. It doesn't seem like they are pushing out at all. The front line remains largely the same. The real action or real push is currently over at the Vodyane region, as they try to secure and create a better front line around here. This is the main area. So otherwise, yeah. And there's some new interesting developments, particularly over this sector. In the Prione, Levatne region, the Russians have recently just yesterday only just expanded control around Prione. They also seemingly have captured the Levatne region. Now the key now is to watch whether the Russians go for Novodarivka. The Russians also seems to be doing some actions around this sector, around Velika Novosilka. So let's wait and see how this will develop. A lot of interesting developments, but yeah, I think only the people who are really following the war on the daily basis really would care, because it's rather dry. It's rather dry. So anyway, just a quick conclusion, because there's very few frontline changes over the past 24 hours. There's very few, so which is why I think that do a conclusion will make more sense. And that's it. That's it. So press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.